Hi, I'm Jonathan Tanner, and today I'm going to show you how I teach the basics of the left hand. Now, before getting to the hand position or playing any fingered notes, there are a few helpful and fun things that a student can learn right from the very beginning. The first is finger tapping. So this teaches the finger motion, making sure the fingers are on their tips, and also the finger numbers 1, 2, 3, and 4. If the student has already learned the piano, make sure that you explain that we only count 4 fingers on the violin rather than 5, like on the piano. So first, you can tap on the thumb with the fingertip, like this. Try all the fingers and make sure it's like a crab, not an alligator. You can get the student to tap by their ear to see if they can hear it, because they're going to need very articulate fingers to play clearly. You can teach them the finger numbers and then call them out and see how fast their reactions are. So 1, 3. Or 2, 4, like that. This is an easy game that the parents can play with the student as well. You can also practice the finger tapping on the body of the violin, provided your fingernails are short. Just place your fingertips along this black strip or purfling. Make sure the wrist is straight, the fingers are round like they will be when you're playing normally, and then you can play the number game again. 1, 3, 1, 3, 2, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And see how fast they can do it. So progressing from there, I get the students to tap on their thumb and then tap on the string. Tap on the thumb, tap on the string. Like the crab is coming to take a bite out of the violin. Tap, 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 tap. And here they're already pretty much playing correctly with their fingers. Another thing that is valuable to teach early on is left hand pizzicato on open strings. This strengthens the fingers and teaches the lifting motion. Mostly I focus on the 4th finger here because this needs the most strengthening. Next, I teach monkey swings. Make sure the elbow can swing from side to side like a monkey from a tree. This will help the student to play comfortably on all the different strings later on. Now you can add monkey swings to left hand pizzicato. I'll often get them to play G, E, G, E, G, E, G, E with nice big swings. So once you've had a bit of fun with those things, it's time to learn some new notes. I highly recommend using stickers or finger tapes to show where the fingers go at first. This helps the student to repeat the correct note over and over until it becomes automatic. Now please, 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 please make sure that the finger tapes are actually in tune. I tell my students all the time, if you practice out of tune, you'll get better and better at playing out of tune. This is really important, so take the time to make sure the finger tapes are precisely in the right place. Moving on now to the hand position. I have 2 ways of teaching this, and in general it's good to have multiple ways of teaching the same thing. That way, if something doesn't click for a student, or they need extra help, then you can address it in a completely different way. Every student is unique, and what works for one won't work for all. So let's start by making a V shape with your thumb and first finger. Turn the palm to face you, and then we're going to support the violin neck in the top of the V shape, not the bottom. Top. So like this, top of the V shape, not the bottom. Top of the V shape, not the bottom. Now take care not to squeeze the neck tightly. This is the most important and universally applicable point to be made. No matter what your hand size and shape or the length of your thumb, do not squeeze the neck. Simply support the neck with your V shape, no need to grip tightly at all. I recommend that you place your V shape so that the thumb touches the neck around about where you'd place your first finger, or it might be just touching the first finger tape. It should also just be peeking over the top of the fingerboard. Now, this is hugely personal, and every hand is different, but that's a good place to start from. You might find that somebody with a long thumb will stick up further. Some people prefer to have their thumb closer to where the second finger touches. There are many, many variations. Just the most important point is don't squeeze. So once you've got that V shape in the right place, you're ready to place the fingertips on the string. The other way I teach this hand position is by getting the student to hold out their thumb flat like this, place it under the neck, and then you simply instruct them to place their fingertip on the string. You'll likely find that they've created this perfect V shape which we just talked about, And they're also unlikely to squeeze because they're only thinking about the fingertip and the thumb. Just take care that you do avoid alligators if you use this method. Instead, we want to have round fingers like this. When learning to place the fingers on the fingerboard, I think it's best to start with the second or third fingers. This creates a balanced hand position that should be able to reach the first and the fourth finger easily. If you start with the first finger, you can end up too far back like this, where it's almost impossible to reach the fourth finger. If you play for a few months like this without the fourth finger and then introduce it later, you'll find you have to completely relearn the hand position in order to reach. For this reason, I highly recommend starting with the second or third fingers and to introduce the fourth finger as early as possible, if not right from the very beginning. One common mistake to avoid is that once the fingers are placed on the fingerboard, they can start to fall over towards the E string. And once the muscles develop, this gets worse and worse, and it's very hard to reach the fourth finger. So in order to avoid this, I get my students to place their fingers on the opposite side, so they're almost falling over towards the G string. I'll draw a little mark on their fingers to show them where I want their fingertips to touch the string. So this is the corner of the fingertip closest to the thumb. We then place those first and second fingers on that corner of the fingertip, and then you'll find it's much easier to reach the fourth finger from there. It's important to maintain a relaxed and fairly straight wrist, and to keep a bit of space in the palm of the hand here to help with the finger flexibility. Most students will want to support with the palm, but this limits the mobility of the fingers significantly. So we need an animal of some description that the student does not want to squash, who's going to move into the violin hand and help us keep a good hand position. Don't squash the mouse is something I say all the time. You can use any animal you like. The hardest part is just remembering which student is taking care of which animal. I've had mice, pandas, chickens, kittens, dogs, puppies, wolf pups, all sorts of things, and some even with specific names. Sometimes I'll place a pen or something in the student's hand to remind them not to squash. You can just slot it through into the bottom of their V shape like that, and it's just a good little reminder. One final tip which I think needs mentioning is that despite appearing to hold the violin well, a student can be gripping between the base of the first finger and the fingertip like this, or on the violin like this. So it might look okay, but underneath there's a lot of squeezing going on. Now this is important because it's a really difficult habit to break, and some things such as speed, shifting and vibrato will be difficult or even impossible until it's fixed. So do look out for that. So now let's recap on what we've learnt. Number one, even before you use the fingers, you can learn all the various types of finger tapping, left hand pizzicato and monkey swings. Number two, you want to hold up the violin supported by the top of your V shape and no squeezing. Number three, place the thumb where it's comfortable, probably around about the first finger mark, and again, remember, don't squeeze. Number four, make sure there's room for your animal of choice in here to allow for finger flexibility. And finally, number five, fingers should be round and on their tips, or even better, on the thumb side of their tips, on that little mark we drew before. From here you can play the tapping game again, but this time on the finger marks, and then you're ready to play a new piece with fingers. So that covers what I see as the most critical components of the left hand position, but it is a really big topic, so do check out my next video for a few more tips and in-depth advice on the subject. Thanks for watching and good luck.